Hi, I'm Ashley from HomeLikeYouMeanIt.com. I'm a true color expert and decorator, and today we're going to talk about Benjamin Moore Quiet Moments. If you're looking for a really pretty soft spa-like color, Quiet Moments might be one to try out. So let's get into it. So, Quiet Moments is a really pretty blue-green color, and it's soft. It's made soft by this really subtle gray undertone, which really kind of works to make the color look a little bit more like a neutral color, working in a lot of different space with a lot of different decor styles, but it's got that really soft gray undertone. It's much more subdued when you compare it to a lot of other popular blue greens like palladium blue, which we'll look at later. Okay, let's talk about color depth. So when we think about color depth, we talk in terms of LRV, or light reflectance value, and this kind of tells you how light or dark a paint color is. Sometimes with these lighter colors, it's a little bit hard to see which color might reflect a little bit more light, so looking at the LRV is always a good thing. Quiet Moments has an LRV of 61, so this is what I would consider a light paint color. It's not as light as some of the other blue greens. If you're looking for a lighter blue green, you might want to sample Sherwin-Williams Opaline, but it's significantly lighter than a lot that we'll look at here in a little bit. So just know that when you're working with Quiet Moments, you're working with a pretty light paint color. Okay, so now we're going to do some color comparison. Color comparison is really the only way to see what you're working with. Do not ever look at colors in isolation. That is when you can get in trouble real quickly. So first up is one of the top selling colors of all time, Sherwin-Williams Sea Salt. Pretty similar in terms of LRV, so their color depth is almost virtually the same, but you can see that Quiet Moments pulls just a little bit more green than Sea Salt. So Sea Salt's just kind of a little bit more airy and light. Okay, now let's look at Pearl Gray versus Quiet Moments. So just like I hinted earlier, this is one of the lighter blue greens. Its LRV is 73, I believe. So if you're after that blue-green but want something much lighter than Quiet Moments, Pearl Gray is one to sample. All right, Quiet Moments first, Sherwin-Williams Rain Washed. This is a much darker paint color. Its LRV sits at 59. You can just see it's got significantly more pigment and color than Quiet Moments, but that's Rain Washed. Okay, Quiet Moments versus Sherwin-Williams Silver Strand. This color is just a little bit darker, about 4 points darker in terms of LRV on the LRV scale. It's very similar to Quiet Moments. It's got that really soft gray undertone, but it's just a little bit more pigmented. Okay, the final color comparison I'm going to do today is Palladium Blue versus Quiet Moments. It's a little bit darker than Quiet Moments, but it's also got significant more pigmentation. You can see it's pulling way more green, way more blue. It's just all over. It's a much deeper, richer color. Okay, now let's talk about trim color. So to me, Quiet Moments looks much better when compared with true whites. So those would be whites that don't have any undertones. So I like to pair it the best with the Chantilly Lace. It's just that really crisp, clean pop of color. If you want to do a softer white, I would really urge you to sample. A lot are going to be a little bit too yellow. Let me see if I've got Simply White here. Yes, okay. So that's an off-white that really isn't as creamy or yellow as a lot of off-whites. That would also work. But again, my first choice would be Chantilly Lace. So a lot of people, if you're using this in a bathroom, you do not have to use in your bathroom. Your bathroom can kind of act as its standalone room. So if you want to kind of change up the trim, if you're just using Quiet Moments in your bathroom, and in your bathroom you want to change up the trim to a more truer, crisper white, that is totally acceptable. And then you can keep the off-white trim throughout the rest of your house. So that's just a little FYI. So that's all about Quiet Moments. Again, because it's a blue-green, it is one of those colors that, depending on the light and the day, the time of day, it might look a little bit more blue, a little bit more green, and then sometimes you might see a little bit of that gray coming forward. So I hope you learned a lot. I do have a full blog post on this where I've taken photos of these paint samples in natural light that are unedited, that you can kind of really get a good feel. I do have some inspiration photos on there and just a little bit more information, so I'll link that below.